Welcome to Takeover, the most underrated sports debate show on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for all our weekly sports content.
As you all know, my name is Josh, but something you might not know about us is that I'm offering $5 for every 3 subscribers that you can prove that you got to subscribe.
Get that money.
Free money. You don't have to do anything except text people.
Crazy.
My name is Deandra.
Oh, my name is Cam.
His name is Cam.
And this is Takeover.
We play it all in night. Yeah, need it all in advance. The opposition know we're ready for it. Like a supper we eating, it won't be the last. Grind out the muscle, pull up. Parker right on the grass. We coming in, take over everything, run it up. Not that holding me back. 3 in the wood, rushing. I don't like Dutch, don't even matter, you know I'm facing. When I roll a paper, I like to go double. Run up a check, flip a W, make it an M. I need a cup.
So the NFL draft is next week, fast approaching. This is my favorite time of year. And obviously, everybody knows Trevor Lawrence is going number 1. I mean, this is the best quarterback prospect we've seen in 20 years. The biggest question to ask then is who's QB2 in this class?
As you guys know, y'all have seen me yell Mac Sauce, Mac Jones from the hallways and Buffalo Wild Wings in my dorms. I'm all about Mac Jones. But I'm here to tell you right here, he is not. He should not be the second quarterback chosen. It should be Justin Fields. You look at him as a raw prospect. He's 6'3", 227, and runs a 4.4. Reminds me a little bit of Cam Newton. He's a baby Cam Newton, but he's accurate in the pocket. He makes the good passes. You look at what he did over the span of the 2 seasons when he started: 63 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. And he's very accurate. He has great ball placement. You know, it hasn't been a year where he hasn't completed under 67% of his passes. So I think you have to look at what he does. And the ability to extend plays. As much as I love Mac Jones, he does not have that ability. He can't really escape the pocket. In the NFL, you need a quarterback who can get out of the pocket and continue to make plays for you. And as far as his mental and how he takes big hits, he's taken the hits over and over. He's been told that he wouldn't be able to start. He left Georgia to start off and had to take the starting role at Ohio State from somebody and excelled at what he was doing. Not to mention the guy that's ahead of him, the guy that everyone is saying should be number 1. He's taken toe to toe and almost has beaten him twice. And beat him 1 time out of the 2 times. You look at it, the first time him and Trevor Lawrence went against each other. If not for a missed route, he beats Trevor Lawrence. He plays LSU, and the second time it wasn't even close. As he threw for 22 for 28, had 385 yards, and threw for 6 touchdowns in that one game that we all expected him to get blown out by Clemson by. So as far as him as a talent and what he can do, I really think not Trevor Lawrence, but Justin Fields is the guy to see.
All right, so I chose Zach Wilson because he has great arm strength and mobility, and he can really push the ball down the field, especially with great accuracy and timing. He's impressive when it comes to understanding the pass game, and I believe that's something that can translate well to the NFL. He has a very impressive processor, and he's really good when it comes to pocket presence. He can navigate in the pocket, and he can, while keeping his eyes up, while looking downfield, and he can also sense pressure. But one of the biggest knocks against him is his competition. And I feel like competition really doesn't compromise his ball placement, how accurate he can be with the ball as well, especially when you look at his job and his role for his team. I believe his job will be more difficult than a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or Mac Jones. And I feel like he didn't have a lot of help, especially at the wide receiver position. He made his receivers look better, actually. When you look at the game against Coastal Carolina, he was making dots on the field, and he was really good with targeting, but his receivers just let him down, and they just couldn't convert. So I believe that Zach Wilson should be the second runner-up in this draft.
Cam, it happens once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But I think we agree with each other this time.
Okay, all right.
All love to all the other quarterbacks. First of all, this could be potentially one of the best quarterback-laden classes we've seen since, 84.
For sure.
But Justin Fields, for my money, is my number 2 quarterback. And you talked about how great he is, so I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that you said. Instead, I'm going to give you why I think he's better than everybody else. Like you said with Mac Jones, I don't buy the fact that Mac Jones can be anything more than a system quarterback right now in the NFL. He doesn't have that mobility. He was surrounded by a bunch of future first and second round picks at Alabama. He only had 1 year starting experience. So it's hard for me to justify taking him too. Trey Lance has the most upside, I would argue, out of everybody not named Trevor Lawrence, but it's going to take a lot more to get him there because that level of competition matters because he was playing at the FCS level for North Dakota State, so he wasn't playing many people that would actually play on Sundays. And he only had 1 year starting experience on top of that, so I wouldn't argue that he's QB2. As for Zach Wilson, your pick, I think the low competition matters because I understand what you're saying with the ball placement, and Zach has plenty of tools. The problem is, I feel like it's hard to, what's the word for it? Grade and evaluate his ability to hit receivers that are actually being covered because, you said, well, competition doesn't matter about ball placement. It does because if the window is tighter, then we've seen people that can't deal with those tight windows. So I'm taking Justin Fields because we've seen him play elite defenses and we've seen him carve up those elite defenses. We've never really seen Zach Wilson. And plus, Zach Wilson also only had one elite year because otherwise he was like 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions the year before. So I'm taking Justin Fields for my money.
My only argument against Justin Fields would be the only knock I feel like would be against him. I don't necessarily disagree with you guys, but my only thing against him would be like how you talked about how he takes those hits. That could really hurt him when he gets to the NFL as far as durability goes. And also, I feel like he scans in on one playable option sometimes. Like for example, you have Chris Olave going down the field and he will legit just look at that one option and he won't make progressions. He will only look at that one player even if they're being covered instead of looking out his other options. That's my only thing.
I've heard that argument, and I've also heard NFL scouts say that they haven't had that problem watching him at these combines and that he's really been able to read the field. So I have heard the knock about him, but I just don't know it's 100% true.
I'd have to break down the film myself.
Yeah, to honestly tell that. I have heard that. I have heard that though. Okay, my favorite player, Kevin Durant, was on the $1 Million podcast and was actually named as top 5 players. And his longtime teammate Russell Westbrook slipped his mind.
As a player, and I'm the first to have your back, man. Do it all.
As he named Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Serge Ibaka, but then later corrected himself. But where should Russ rank in KD teammates?
All right, so before I get into the ranking, I just would like to say that KD is the first player to play with 3 MVP players in their prime. And out of those 3 players, it is Russell Westbrook. And I just have to address that. I feel like, in my personal opinion, it is super disrespectful to keep Russell Westbrook out of the top 5, especially for Serge Ibaka, for a player that's not even top 5 at his position. But Westbrook is in the talk as the one of the most athletic point guards to ever live. But anyway, on to my ranking. At number 5, if we're doing accomplishments and skill set, I'm going with Klay at number 5 because he's a great two-way player, but we've never seen him lead a team through a full season or him basically taking his team through a full season and through the playoffs with him being the best player. Number 4, I'm going with Kyrie because he proved that he could lead the team to a playoffs, especially with Boston, and he's far more explosive of a scorer, and he's more clutch, and he has better ball handling skills. Now, I put Russ at number 3. It was kind of interchangeable for me with James Harden and Russ, but I put Russ at number 3 because obviously, like I said, he's one of the most athletic point guards to ever play the game of basketball. He's a better rebounder, more athletic, and of course you have the averaging through the season a triple-double. I put James Harden at number 2 because he's an 8-time All-Star, MVP, 3-time scoring champion, and he has proved that with him being the best player on the team, he can lead his team to the Western Conference finals. And obviously, I put Steph at number 1 because he has the most rings out of anyone on the list. I named most regular season MVPs, most unanimous MVPs. He has the most range out of anyone on the list, and he's a career 45% from 3 shooter with 8 to 10 threes a game. And he is arguably one of the reasons why Kevin Durant went to Golden State, especially following the MVP season. And the way he changed the landscape of basketball, that's my list. I have Steph 1, James Harden 2, Russell Westbrook 3, Kyrie 4, Klay at 5.
She copied my whole flow. My whole flow. To the list was the same. Like I really have nothing else to say. Like
at all.
I want to make it clear because I get accused of this by certain people. I'm not disrespecting Russ. I respect everything about Russ. Will be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he hangs him up. He's one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen, and he is arguably the most dynamic, athletic, unstoppable whirlwind force that we've seen. But Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time. And there's an argument that James Harden is the greatest offensive force of all time because of his ability to fill it up with buckets and assists. So that's why I put them at the top number 1 and 2, because they are truly transcendent and among the conversations for the greatest of all time, while Russ is fantastic. He's just not on their level. But yeah, Kyrie and Clay, and I'm not going to get into the debate of if KD did it on purpose or not, because there's a good chance that he did. There's a good chance that he didn't.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Durant is obviously, he likes to troll. He likes to say a lot of crazy things in the media. But if I have to rank his teammates, I'm definitely putting Russ at 2. I know what you guys are speaking at with James Harden. James Harden is probably one of the greatest pure scorers in the game. But they haven't really played together as long. That's why I'm giving Russ the edge. Because he went to the Western Conference Finals with Russ. He had to play off of Russ. If anyone has played well, Kevin Durant won an MVP playing with Russ. So I have to think the longevity of their relationship has to count in when it comes to teammates. And you look at duos all time, I think they're a top 20 duo all time, KD and Russ. And then you look at what Russ has done on the court. You guys named it a little bit. He won an MVP once KD left. He's gone not 3 straight seasons, but he has gone 3 seasons with averaging a triple-double. And everyone else on the list, I don't think they're as good as Russ. You think of James Harden, I think him and Russ aren't too far apart as legacy-wise. I know James Harden's been able to take his team further in the playoffs, but as far as KD teammates, I'm putting Westbrook at 2nd.
I'm running out of English words, but the way that you judged it and the way that you looked at it, I thought about it that way too, and I was like, are we taking into account the fact that Harden was just a 6th man when he originally played with KD, and the fact that they've haven't shared the court yet in Brooklyn? It's fair. I rated it based on each individual's accomplishments and accolades by themselves. So they're his whole body of work as opposed to what they did together. But it's a fair assessment.
Well, that is going to wrap up our episode. You guys have anything to say?
Do you want to talk about it or should I?
Go ahead, Josh. Knock it out.
Shout out to the Minnesota jury for convicting Derek Chauvin on all 3 counts. This is I'm not going to say it's a turning point, because who the hell knows? This is America where everything goes wrong.
Probably not.
But, it's better than what we've been getting. And it's good to see that justice was officially served and he didn't get off on some technicalities. So I'm glad that, while nothing that they were going to do is ever going to replace the loss of George Floyd and, what his family has had to go through dealing with not only watching him die, but then having millions of people on social media provide, analysis of why his death doesn't matter. It's at least a small glimmer of sunshine in this increasingly dark world.
You got anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, and to piggyback off of what Josh said, I'm glad that this did happen. Would I have been surprised if it went either way? No, because I know how these cases go in America. That cop could have got off. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. But as an African-American teenager nowadays, I think it has completely become because we see it so much on social media where there's a black kid and he just dies to police officers or police brutality. It has really become we see it so frequently that it's almost numbing in our society, it regularly happens. So I feel like, this could be I don't know if it's going to be a turning point, but it has to stop somewhere, because I feel like it's gotten to a point where the trauma is kind of numbed off because we see it every day. If I wanted to go on my Instagram story and see a police brutality or a cop shooting an innocent black kid, it's right there for me to see multiple times a day from multiple different accounts. So that's all I gotta say about that. Takeover out.
Hey, champ. Yeah, we play it all in night. Yeah, need it all in advance. The opposition know we're ready for it. Like a supper we eating, it won't be the last. Grind out the muscle, pull up. Parker right on the grass. We coming in, take over everything, run it up. Not that holding me back. 3 in the wood, rushing. I don't like Dutch, don't even matter, I'm a face. And when I roll a paper, I like to go double. Run up a check, flip a W, make it an M. I need